All right, you guys, let's get started. It's a little bit after 1. Welcome everyone to this Identimetrics webinar, expert advice about introducing finger scanning biometrics in your school. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Eden Fulton, and I'm the Executive Vice President of Identimetrics and one of your hosts today. Let me introduce you to my colleague and co-host, Tina Dunphy, Director of Product Support and Implementation. Also on our call with us is Brian Adams, Identimetrics Marketing Manager and our producer today and official timekeeper. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you our panelists. We have a nice mix of old friends and new friends here to make sure we have an excellent representation of expertise to share with you all today. Tina and I fully expect to learn a bunch of things from our guests as well. All right, we have Leanne Koneman of Northwest Allen County Schools in Indiana, an Identimetrics customer for 13 years. Kevin Doyle of Lakeland School District in Idaho, a customer for 12 years. Naima Brown of KIPP Texas Public Schools in Texas, a customer for 3 years. And I'm not sure if Barb's here, maybe she'll pop in, but Barb is from Hazleton Area School District in Pennsylvania, and she's been a customer for 9 years. Frank Castro from Dublin, USD in California, an Identimetrics customer since May 2022. And last but in no way least, our friend Christine Robenstein from Osnaburg Local School District in Ohio, an Identimetrics customer for, wait for it, 15 years. Welcome again, and now I'm going to turn this all over to Tina. Tina?
Thanks, Eden. So before we dive into our discussion, I want to just acknowledge this amazing panel too. I think I speak for both of us that we have had the pleasure of working with this panel and their teams as they rolled out finger scanning biometrics in their district. So we are so honored to be here with you today, sharing this space, learning more about how you effectively introduce finger scanning to your communities. And in addition, you're here passing along some really helpful information to your colleagues across the United States that are looking to or just starting on their journey of introducing finger scan biometrics to their districts. And this information is invaluable. So we thank you for your time and for being here with us today. Quick housekeeping stuff. We will have time for a Q&A. Everybody that's joined this roundtable will have time for a Q&A at the end. So just enter your question in the chat and then we'll get to all of them. Brian's in charge of that part. And the recording of the roundtable will be emailed to everybody. So please feel free to forward that to anybody who might be interested. All right, so let's get started here. Panelists, each of you has made the decision to include finger scan biometrics in your schools for a variety of very intentional reasons. Maybe you were looking for accuracy or accountability, speed, return on investment. Maybe you wanted to alleviate the headache and the cost of students sharing pins and losing cards. Maybe you were attracted by the privacy benefits. In doing so, you became responsible for introducing finger scan biometrics to your communities as well. And we talked to a lot of people across the United States. Some of them really just don't have an understanding like you do about finger scan biometrics, or they just have a misunderstanding about finger scan biometrics. And that brings me to our first discussion point. Can you tell us about any challenges you had with parents, administrators, school board members, or anyone in your community when you introduced finger scanning biometrics? So I'm going to toss that question, that discussion point around the room. And then after everyone has had a chance to share their challenges, I want to move into a discussion about how you handled it. So Christine, do you want to start this off and tell us about any of the challenges you faced?
Well, 15 years ago, it was my superintendent's idea when I gave him the options. He said, I don't want to do the number thing. I want to do the finger scan because I want the security that it's always going to the right student's account. And I said, all right. So I was surprised at the challenge of I wasn't surprised at the challenge of parent buy-in, but I was surprised at the staff that I had some issues with staff members. You know, and then there's the learning curve of teaching all these kids how to do that. So yeah, that's what it was like 15 years ago. Long.
Yeah, and absolutely. And before, we had, opened up our phones, with a finger and used all of that easy way to access
Right,
everything.
exactly.
So that's, that's an interesting perspective. How about Naima? How about you? Can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced in implementing, community, parents, teachers, school boards, anything with, biometrics coming into the KIPP schools?
Yeah, I think for us, the largest challenge, and it really wasn't even that big, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, but there were some questions, rightfully so. And those questions came from our high school students who were very
Really?
concerned. Yeah, it was
It
interesting.
is interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. They were like, wait a minute, what are you doing, with our finger scans? Like, tell me about it. But then it was great because once I just explained the process and talked to them about the smartphone that they all have in their pocket, like the technology is, it's similar, right? And talking about how just the mechanics of it, and like nothing is actually storing the scan from your finger. So that helped a lot. And then also explaining the same thing to middle school teachers who wanted to be able to provide that transparency to their students if they had the questions.
Yeah, that's interesting, Naima. That's an
I
interesting
know.
that the students were actually chiming in to want to know a little bit more about, the privacy concerns. Kevin, how about you?
I think for us, probably the biggest hoop we had to jump through was just working with parents to make them feel comfortable that, because it's still today, we still have some students or parents that opt out, but a lot of it is this fear of we're storing a fingerprint of their child in our computer. And, we've sent out all the marketing material kind of explaining how the process works, and it's more of a sequential number system than it is anything else, but there's still those people that really don't want anything to do with it. But I would say that's kind of few and far between. When most of our kids scan,
Yeah.
but that was probably the biggest thing. That, and then obviously the whole germ thing took a
Oh, right.
next level with COVID, and we didn't utilize it during COVID
Mhm.
much at all, but just even getting back into it this year, and with everything being free the last 2 years, we didn't have to, pull up student accounts because we didn't have to track it like we do. But getting back into that this year, just again, sending out more communication to families, just, making sure that they know that this is a safe, system to use, and we're not spreading around bacteria or anything like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So those are probably the two biggest.
Yeah. How about you, Frank? What kind of challenges did you face in your community about, understanding finger scan biometrics potentially?
Our community was very open to it. We had a very minimal amount of people pushing back. We're only using it K-5 in elementary schools, but everybody was, for the most part, very receptive. And then the ones that weren't were just, again, worried about the kind of information we were storing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Frank, and everyone who's responded. Leanne, how about you?
Very similar. While we didn't really have a whole lot of concern, the 5 to 10 parents that we did have concern took it to the media, made a big deal out of it.
Naima,
But looking back, it really helped us out because then it was very public, the responses. And I will say, Identimetrics, Jay came, he flew here, and we had parent meetings and was just It was amazing to watch him just literally crush every parent's concern with facts and
Yeah.
details. So it really helped get all of, the specifics out quicker than we probably would have without that. But yeah, in the grand scheme, it was literally 5 parents. And then, that was also a concern of, for the germs. And this was, again, 13 years ago. And I just had to laugh. I'm like, do you think they wash the lockers and the door handles like
That's
all
right.
the time?
That's right. Everything.
So, 13 years ago, COVID wasn't a thing, but the germs were a concern. It just kind of made me laugh. But then we put out little sponges at the sites of the scanners, and we put sanitizer in those sponges. So we were ahead of the game 13 years ago.
Yeah.
We were already killing all kinds of pandemics, I'm sure, then, just with our finger scanners. So it kind of worked. And we did not stop using them because of that procedure that we did through COVID. We figured it was one extra step that we were sanitizing fingers.
Mhm. Yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, it seems like there's some commonality here, like among some of the challenges that you faced. And, I definitely heard that, the parents were concerned, or that, that some, maybe the teachers were concerned about what it is that we're storing. Which of course is only a binary number, that's a template that's all wrapped up in some nice encryption and stored behind a firewall in the district server. But, that information, of course, communicating that effectively, it seems like all of you did an awesome job
Seriously.
where you had the challenges faced to you. So, really, and you kind of answered here a little bit about how you handled it. Leanne with the Jay dropping in off the airplane and taking care of it, and everyone else discussing that. Naima with your your students and your teachers that were interested, and the communication materials that we have for you. We have a whole bunch that we add up in our resource center. We have parent letters, privacy recommendations, up on our Eden and Al created this wonderful resource center that gives all kinds of materials to help educate, as you are introducing finger scanning to your communities. What else is up there, E? Parent letters, privacy recommendations. What else do we have up there?
Parent letters, letters for colleagues, the privacy policy recommendations written by our founder, Jay Fry, that Leanne just mentioned, former school principal and its school administrator. So it's an excellent document. And I think some of those docs are in Spanish as well. Oh, and a piece of, I call it a cut sheet or a piece of collateral that also could be sent home that explains how finger scanning works, right? And basically it's all about, like, we're not capturing fingerprints, no fingerprints are stored, that kind of stuff. So good stuff.
Yeah, and we talk about the encryption process and all of that. So did a few mentions here, but that resource center, did you use any of that communication material? I'm going to start on my squares. I'm going to go the other way now. I'm going to start with Frank. Frank, did you use any of our communication material that we provided for you to kind of help ease that process along for you, so you didn't have to figure out what to do all by yourself?
Yes, we have a public information team, and so we forwarded all those things to them.
That's cool.
And
Put it up on the website.
We do weekly community bulletins, so we pushed it out from the summer, from our summer pilot program, all the way through summer till we started enrolling kids.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to do it. I'm coming up to Naima. I don't know how you guys see me on here, but Naima, you're next. How about you? Did you use any of those communication materials, and were they helpful?
Oh, they were very helpful. We used the letter to the parents that was sent out, and we also just used some of the information, especially in those middle schools and high schools where they had those technical questions, so that they could see the transparency. And it was a really good ally. And we also shared it with our marketing team so that they could push it out to families.
Yeah, did they use any of the website strategies, social media? What were those outlets that they used, your marketing teams? Actually,
for us, it was through the social media.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the social media stuff. You guys have a huge presence. KIPP schools have a huge presence on social media. We, we engage a lot. How about you, Kevin? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we do. How about you, Kevin? Did you use those? I mean, it's been Naima and Frank are a little more recent. You've been, using Identimetrics for a while, but did you use that? that communication material, and was it helpful for you?
I mean, we did initially the first few years, especially when we first started.
Yeah.
But there are some things that I think just some of those flyers, some things that ease parents' minds. I think starting next year, that would be something that I would like to maybe include
Yeah.
in the registration packets. I mean, we put the information in our program student or parent letter, so to speak. The one thing that we also do is we do include an opt-out form
Mm.
in our parent letter so that parents can opt out at that time. And we're working to try to, because our district has really moved to more online registration, even though they still do in person, there's just not as many parents that attend. So I'm trying to get this pushed out more electronically so that if you don't go to the in-person registration, then you're not kind of left out in the dark on that.
Yeah,
So
that's
we've
probably,
utilized all of your information at one time or another, but I think going forward, I think I'd like to try to use a little bit more of it just to be open and transparent with parents.
yeah. And, you know, and you know, we always like to hear different things that would be useful and helpful. So, you know, reaching out to all of you, any ideas that you would have to say, hey, this would be awesome. Add this, we could use this. People are responding to this. We want to hear it because we're going to do it, you know.
I was just gonna say that, Tina.
I said it first today.
Quit
Tina.
reading my mind,
say-
Tina.
You can say it first next time. Christine, how about you? Did you, I don't know, you know, I think we had a majority of these, but we certainly have been adding to them over the years. Were you able to take advantage of some of the material that we had?
Yeah, I'm sure you have more stuff today than 15 years ago. And we did. I mean, we sent letters home to every family. And, you know, and that's how we knew parents were, you know, had questions.
Yeah.
You know, the staff, I mean, I had one guy who his rallying cry was, you know, fingerprint, the FBI, they're gonna come get you. And I'm like, okay, stop. And we're a small school. I mean, you know, we only have 900 kids, preschool through 12. And so I'm it. I was the one putting out the information. I was the one that first day, you know, the week we were rolling it out, that I held the assemblies with the kids, the different groups of kids, and had my little dog and pony show going, okay, this is what we're gonna do. This is your finger. You always have your finger. Just in case that one gets cut, you got another one. Yay. So, you know, that was me. I have to say, because we're a little country school here, we don't even ask anymore. You know, I'm in charge of scanning all the kindergartners. So, you know, I don't know what they're gonna, well, I'll get to do it this next year, but at the start, but then somebody else is gonna have to be in charge. But the kindergarten teachers come to me and say, okay, you know, can we do it from this time to this time on this day and on this day? And we get those kids scanned, and we got a lot of rock stars that just get it. And I don't know if that's because technology has come that far in 15 years that these little kids grew up playing on their mom and dad's phones. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That
they're
could
just-
factor in, but I think kudos to you,
Interesting.
Christine, you know, being able to, you know, just, you know, make sure that everyone understood, you
Mhm.
know, about finger scanning. And then it just becomes part of the culture, because you're trying to increase
does.
operational efficiencies, right? That's the whole reason. Finger scan biometrics just, you know, bring everything to the next level, completely secure and completely private. So kudos to you.
And so I'm gonna have to check, you know, new student packets. I know they were in them years ago, but when we came to when we built a new building and came over here, I don't know that I've asked that question in a while.
And you know what?
Do we still warn these people? I don't
And do me a favor, check the website, because boy, the stuff that we keep adding based on, just, recommendations and requests, and just, by virtue of updating our
Yeah.
material, we got more stuff there for you.
Yeah, I need to do that. This is
Yeah.
great. See what I learned today?
How about you, Leanne? What kind of, was that is the communication material helpful, and do you use it in an ongoing way?
Yeah, we add ours to the website. But I think, yeah, when we started, there wasn't necessarily all of those supporting documents that were just out there. You sent them. I mean, you would give me anything I needed to
Right.
to make sure my staff, my administration, the kiddos were aware for all the meetings that we had. But I think that's the beauty of it, is you guys constantly evolve and grow with
Mhm.
details on how to help your people, and that's huge. So it's just what we've come to expect. Identimetrics takes care of it. So
Mhm. Yeah, right on, right on.
All right, let's go into this next discussion point. Parents, there's different ways, I'm sure, and different challenges that you had in presenting the material and communicating with your communities. But can you tell us about a strategy, or give some recommendations about the way you specifically introduce finger scanning internally to your other administrators, and maybe to the decision makers in your district? Like you may have had a different strategy or focus with that group of people. So I'm going to start middle of the squares. Naeem, I'm starting with you.
Okay, I'm so sorry, Tina. Can you just repeat that one more time?
I will. Wanting to understand a little bit more about the recommendations and strategies for how to talk about, bringing finger scanning biometrics to your internal group, right? Your administrators, your decision makers, anybody internally that you had to approach in a
Superintendent.
different way. Yeah. To help them understand why finger scanning biometrics is really, an excellent choice for ID management.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, with that, it was a really easy sell with all of our operations people, because of the lift of not having Identimetrics in place. So once we said, oh, we're going to go to this biometrics program, it's going to alleviate the need for Meal ID cards. It's going to alleviate the need for reprinting them, and like that whole mess of. And so immediately we had so much buy-in from the school operations folks. And yeah, a few people had some questions, but once they understood the mechanics of the system, it was a no-brainer for them.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, of course, that, when you talk about the benefits, the benefits of using finger scanning, and people understand the mechanics, I'm sure that's a wonderful approach to that. How about you, Kevin? Internally, any issues or ways that you managed your internal group administrators? And
Well, I think initially when we moved over to Identimetrics, we were trying to move away from cards with barcodes, and we had a different scanner back then where you waved the barcode in front of I think it was an orbital scanner is what they called it. But I think for us, it was, we were really looking for a system that we didn't have to manage all the time. It just like with this, you guys it's a package deal. So really it was just selling the kind of, here's some of the new technology out there. It's going to save us money on, having to replace cards all the time, and just the labor savings too of having to get all of these cards back down to, because we have 11 schools, so back down to each school and sorted and in teacher boxes and all that. So I think really it was just kind of the step I just took to our business manager, and made sense to him, and we haven't really had any more discussions.
Yeah, so kind of like Naima, operationally was really the, what was the, was the method for them to
Driving force,
recognize,
yeah.
to recognize finger scanning, and then, understanding the mechanism. There wasn't a concern really about, finger scan and what it was, or privacy concerns, more about the operational rewards for using.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, how about Leanne? How about on your end? Any internal recommendation, like any internal challenges you had and recommendations for how other people would handle that?
Yeah, we actually had a new superintendent at the time, so I had to sales pitch it to him, who also in turn sold it to the board. And we had a conservative board, and we always have a conservative board. But for us, it was speed and accuracy. I mean, we were missing reimbursable meals. Kids were double claiming, using their boyfriend, stepbrother, somebody's account. So for us, it was just the idea of being able to identify them, like she said, like Christine said, you never lose your finger. You can't borrow someone's finger, and you can't say, well, that my mom doesn't care if he uses my finger. Well, so it kind of
that
worked for that.
That would be an interesting comment.
But then I also promoted that this will obviously increase our reimbursement claims because of that accuracy too. So it was easy to sell, very easy.
How about you, Frank? Any internal, didn't sound like you had many issues, at all, or challenges, with, privacy issues or finger scanning coming into the district. Any internal ones?
Oh,
You're muted.
You're on mute, Frank.
Our
Okay.
board is pretty open to technology and advancements in technology. Our toughest coordination was with our IT department.
Mhm. I love those guys, Frank, you know that. I love the whole IT department of yours. How about you, Christine? Well, I mean, it sounds like, your superintendent was the one that actually gave it, presented the idea to you, but was there anybody else that gave you any pushback about biometrics at Osnaburg?
It was, the reason I was in charge was because that's when we put computers in the cafeteria. Up until 15 years ago, we were using the tickets, and
Mhm.
I came back from a meeting and went, well, we need to make this change. And so, when Tom and I talked about it, he was definitely, it was about the security. So once I explained the security to the admin team, it was a no-brainer, and it was very easy.
Awesome. All right, I have one final question here for everybody. Discussion point, I should say, but what would be your advice to someone that's interested in bringing biometric finger scanning, identimetrics specifically, to their district? What would be your advice? All right, I'm starting top. Leanne, you're number one today. You're at the top.
Well, there's so many. I mean, it just depends on their particular issues or needs. But I would say for us, speed, we got kids through faster. So then they had more seat time. And I mean, we're always begging for more seat time. I've begged senators, legislators. But if we can get them more seat time to eat the food, we stand a chance of actually getting nutrition to work.
Mhm.
Right.
So you would kind of go, again, operational, take a look at the
Definitely.
operational benefits, and that would be your advice.
Yeah, the rest just has become commonplace in our world.
How about you, Christine? Someone wants to bring identimetrics into their district and they're brand new, they're facing, some challenges. What would be your advice?
Stay calm. Identimetrics is a great, awesome team to work with. And, and I say that as a treasurer and as the food service director, that, I bring computers in there. And so now I've got, and at the same time, bringing finger scan in, they were there, for every crisis. And I say crisis because we started with, there's the good signal and the bad signal, what works and what doesn't. And I don't know if you two remember, we chose Houston, we have a problem.
That was for everybody
a long
who's not
time ago.
familiar. For everyone who's not familiar, that was once upon a time the bad sound. So
The
instead
bad
of
sound.
and
And
it was Houston, we have a problem, which we have, I'll let you finish the story.
And and the kids would just look at us, look at the cashier going, did it work?
Oh,
But we did change it to a horn sound.
Yeah.
Kind of annoying,
And-
but
and we wised up, there are no choices of
There are
bad
no-
sounds
there are
anymore.
no
There's
fun
only
bad
one.
sounds.
so, but and you're teaching the kids how to operate it, whatever, and that you're
Mm.
teaching the cashiers who, didn't even have smartphones at the time. So,
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Wow. Right.
and so so that's why I say stay calm, because Tina knows my walk down the hall where I have to get from my office to the cafeteria.
Yes, I do. I know. the
So I
shoes
got
are
her on my
wearing
cell
that.
phone, and yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
just stay calm. It'll be fine. I
Uh-huh.
don't know of any implementation technology / software that goes without a couple hitches. I mean,
Right. Mhm.
that's just life. So just stay calm. It'll be fine.
Mhm. Mhm. We do have like a little joke when we work with Christine, and we call her and she has to go down to the cafeteria, that we listen for the clip clop, clip clop, clip clop,
Yeah.
clip clop, her shoes on the floor. We're like,
Unless
did you
it's
hear it? Yeah, well, I
summertime,
heard it.
unless it's summertime, because in summertime, she doesn't wear those shoes.
I don't. I wear
There's a
sandals.
difference there, and there's
Yeah.
no clip clop, clip
Sandals
clop.
are nice and soft.
Exactly.
Thanks for that. Naima, how about you? What would your advice be to someone that's interested in bringing Identimetrics into their district?
My advice would be to do it fast, do it now. It's gonna save you so much headache. Just like to touch on what Leanna and Christine just spoke about, it's like the accuracy for your counting and claiming, the time saved on reprinting cards, and the money saved on both reprinting and like the actual card systems themselves. It's just, if you have the infrastructure to do it, then you make it happen. Whoever you have to talk to in whatever department, just like let them know why you need it.
Thanks, Naima. That's good advice. How about you, Frank?
I would say, I would echo everybody else's points. I would advise that you are settled on your point of sale system that you're going to use, and what version you're going to use,
He says with
because-
mad experience.
because we've had that's been our biggest challenge. So other than that, yeah, it's, once the schools who have it and it's working well, the kids are so receptive to it that if we have an issue, they're kind of disappointed that they can't scan their feet.
Oh, I love that.
Like, what happened? We're not scanning anymore. So,
That makes me so happy.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's once it goes, it works really well.
Thanks, Frank. All right, Kevin, how about you? What would your advice be to someone that's interested in bringing Identimetrics in their district?
Well, I definitely think the POS is important. I mean, we have NutriKids, and one of the reasons that we ended up going with you guys is because we have a lot of schools that are wireless. And so your software worked much better than some of the other stuff we looked at. So I think making sure that the point of sale is, those two things are going to work well together. And then
Mhm.
really just the customer service piece that you guys provide has been, bar none, some of the best in the business. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for mentioning
I
that.
just want to point out real quickly that, since Kevin kind of mentioned it, and Frank, Identimetrics works with all the leading point of sale. All
Yep.
right. So if you have a question about, does my POS work with Identimetrics? Most likely the
answer's
answer is yes. Yeah.
The answer is
but-
yes. Yeah,
To double, triple check, we welcome the question. So
yes, we
feel
do.
free.
That's right. And
Well-
we will always confirm.
And that's the other thing too, like NutriKids, that I believe they have their own, I think they have some similar software, but it did not work very well in the wireless environment. So it just made, in fact, they even recommended when we were talking with them about it, I think in 2009, that, you know, that you guys were the ones to talk to. So I think it's good too, when a point of sale company realizes that some of their software is limited, and that, you know, yours has worked really well. So
Yeah, yeah, we have a lot of those partner with all those the Heartland and Titan, the Link Systems, Titan, and Mosaic, to all of those. So yeah,
For sure.
I echo what Eden said. Absolutely, we will work with any POS system or just about any application out there that you're using in your schools that requires ID input. So, all right, so I think it looks like we have some questions, and Brian, do you want to go ahead and bring up
Oh,
some of
hello,
those
Brian.
Hi.
for these wonderful people?
He comes
Hello,
from the
lovely
dark.
panelists. Yeah, so there's a couple questions in here already. And I think this is a great one since there's a lot of years of experience on this panel. I think there was something over 50 years of collective experience here in this panel. So the first question here is, any challenges using it with younger kids
Oh, great.
where
Oh,
they're
love
still
that.
growing and the fingerprints may change throughout the years?
So anybody want to take that one? Raise your hand?
Nope, Frank.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I
Frank.
was one of the ones who answered that, but we did have issues with that. And we don't scan preschool kids anymore. We're using serving in the classroom methods in our point of sales.
Mhm.
And not just because they're small and we couldn't get their fingers to scan, but they don't understand the method completely. Each time was like a brand new experience, counter height and all those kinds of things to get them
Other elements, yeah.
to physically go through the process that we just don't do it. But first through 5, definitely yes, do it.
Beautiful.
Well,
So
and
that was
these
just
are-
a pre-K issue that you're having, correct?
Well, there's maybe out of 120 to 150 kids per grade at a school, you might have 2 who for some reason don't scan, And I remember one little kid saying, "Does this mean I don't have to pay income tax?" I'm like, where did you get that?
Then we all don't want to scan, right?
Yeah.
Around.
And then, when we had the kids lining up to scan, and the little ones was just like yellow, 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 yellow. And one of the kids yelled out, "Man, traffic's bad today." Those little traffic signs, so.
Frank uses a traffic light at his school, so it's a little visual aid that provides feedback when you're enrolling and or scanning, and it's a traffic light, red, green, or yellow. So
I like it.
yeah,
it's very cool.
You may want to get a few of those, Christine, before you.
Right before you retire.
Yeah.
How about anybody else want to chime in? And Brian, will you read the question again also?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
Brian, could you read that question?
The question was, any challenges with using it with younger kids where they're still growing and the fingerprints may change throughout the years? And pause, because there's a follow-up question to that kind of goes along the same lines, which is, do you have to re-register the students as the size of their fingers grow? And at what point does this stabilize?
I'll say
Leanne's doing it. She's
when I was doing my research, that's where Identimetrics did stand out, that their programming did allow for that growth and less re-enrolls for those littles. So, and I will say we have very, very few. Usually it's more of a computer glitch rather than the finger glitch that we're re-enrolling kiddos. They've entered something wrong or on our end, computer errors or user error. So I will say, no, we have not had too many issues at all with that.
Yeah, and I'll say that too, after 15 years. I mean, you know, we had kids that were in kindergarten that have now graduated. So, you know, once in a while, they'll say, "Oh, they've been working and now all of a sudden they're not." I said, "Rescan them, no big deal." You know,
And stay calm.
stay calm. We did
And
have,
Kevin,
like Frank said, we did have that one kid at the beginning, that little fourth grader, who we couldn't scan him for nothing. And that was when the scanners were moisture driven. And now, no, they were dry driven. And now they're moisture driven, right? Because now we want them to touch the milk before they put their finger down, but we're actually using the sponges also. So yeah, he just was a sweaty little kid and we couldn't get his fingers dry enough. I think it took him till I was fourth grade. I think he was a freshman before we could get him scanned.
Mhm, mhm.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Hey,
Uh,
hey,
We kept
Kevin, can
trying
you?
though, because he wanted to. He really wanted to be like the rest of the kids.
I'm also interested in Kevin's take because he's been around for, 100 years too, that he's not seen.
Aw.
Oh,
You know,
Kevin, it's all love. It's all love.
it is. No, yeah. Really, I mean, those students are few and far between. That
Yeah.
we very rarely ever have a student that we enrolled, say in the first grade, that doesn't continue to work throughout. There are those occasional kids, but really it's been pretty infrequent.
Mhm. It is.
And that's what the software is designed to do, is a one-time only enrollment.
And
So-
we have a couple neighboring districts that use a different system, and they have to re-enroll all their students annually.
Naima raises her eyebrows.
Yeah, so this is nice.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's quite a
Naeem is
task.
not having that.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
we actually let when we first enrolled, when we launched last year, my team was so gung ho. I was like, okay, we're gonna do K through, 8th grade, and they got pre-K. They got pre-K 3 and pre-K 4. And so
Mhm.
this year, with the pre-K 4 kiddos, because we do feed those kids in the classrooms, but this year with the pre-K 4, they're in kindergarten now. And we didn't have any issues with
Mhm.
those finger scans that we captured when they were 4. And so far, and then of course we have the one-off just like everyone else, but I don't think the age has anything to do with that.
Mhm, mhm.
We had an adult that had burnt her hand and literally had no fingerprint.
Yeah.
And she scanned. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Well, let's try it. And she couldn't even believe it.
I love it. It's awesome.
What do we got? How about Brian? Anybody else in there that the chat? I see some Q&As there, and I know looking at the time, and it's almost 2.
Yeah, it looks like we've got chance for one or two more.
Okay.
One question here is, what else do you use finger scanning for besides cafeteria? And the question was the library, school events. I'll turn that one over.
Mhm, mhm.
Anybody using it for anything outside of POS in this group? I don't know. Yeah.
No.
But I will advise the board after we're up and running to expand it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there is lots of other places you can use it, of course,
Yeah.
right? Library, for example, any school that's running Power School, we have, tardy management solutions for you, tardy management plugins, and, other places that you can use Identimetrics. You already have the system in place. It's like Frank said, it's a great way to just use the system school-wide by adopting it in other areas of your school.
And without re-enrolling kids for a different
Never, never.
a different application as well.
That's right.
What else,
we
Brian?
have, Eden,
What?
you said that one first
What, Brian?
at the same time, but I let you say it first this time. Go ahead.
Sometimes I need a map. I need a decoder ring with Tina sometimes. So I'm like,
Yeah,
what are you
looks like
talking about?
The
So-
final question that we have up here is,
Okay.
what challenges do you have while kids are trying to scan dirty or wet fingers? I think we kind of touched on that,
Oh.
but if anyone wants to elaborate.
Use the sponges, so we avoid that.
Yeah. It's a good suggestion. Yeah, I think the sponges are good and, you know, something, you know, sometimes people even, I don't know if any of you do, Christine, you've mentioned it a little, you know, that you have something to keep the hands clean, right? Before they're coming through. Do you still do that? Do you keep like a little, sometimes people wear like hand sanitizer or the kids wash their hands or before they come?
Yeah, there's hand sanitizers right as they get in line. And then we have the sponges at the scanner.
All right. Any more questions for us, Brian?
That is all the questions I have today.
All right, well, I think that we kept this under an hour, although I will say I would like to just keep hanging out with everybody.
I know.
today,
It's so
because
much
it's been
fun.
the highlight of my entire year, as I mentioned to Frank this morning, like being with all of you wonderful people. But yeah,
Exactly.
I think, thank you. You know, everybody in this room is wonderful. And this is the best part of my job. The best part of my job is working with all of you. And I so appreciate your time today. So thanks. And I'm going to pass it to Eden. Eden, you can wrap it all up.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Tina. And I want to thank Tina and Brian for another awesome webinar, and a huge thank you to our panelists and to all of our attendees. Keep an eye on your inbox for this recording and shoot us an email if you have any other questions. That's it, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everybody. Talk to you
Bye.
soon.
Bye.